Origin was written and directed by Ava DuVernay and stars ingenue Ellis-Taylor as Isabel Wilkerson, a Pulitzer Prize-winning author who wrote a book called Caste in 2020, which chronicled how many places in the world don't necessarily work when it comes to racism. It also is in terms of class divisions and how all of those have been systemic in the rise over the years, and how one country's laws affect another country's policies, affect another country's actions, and how all of those come together. She follows a narrative thread that leads from the murder of Trayvon Martin to eventually the rise of Nazi Germany and how some of those laws were taken from established laws in the US, and also discussing the caste system in India, which has existed for generations upon generations now, and essentially putting those all together to discuss that this is not just a one place issue. This is all over. The book especially has impeccable timing because it dropped in 2020, 2 months after George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Black Lives Matter protests were happening. So the timing of it was both eerie and, like I said, impeccable. And the book at the time ended up spending more than a year at the charts, and it's a book that was widely read by a lot of people. It's a book that is a very interesting study as well because of the points that it had to make. In that sense, Ava DuVernay does a really good job of making sure it's extremely direct and to the point. Most times you'll watch a movie that deals with hard-hitting concepts, but in a sort of subtle way. It's like, look at some events over here. In case you don't get it, this is what we're trying to get at. This movie doesn't have that. It goes right for the heart of it, and it tells you right up front what is wrong with the system. And when it chronicles everything over the years and it portrays things as it does, with Wilkerson going through all of this in the best way possible, while also asking a lot of big questions along the way, it leads to a very interesting movie that I quite enjoyed, in fact, and I think it's a very solid viewing and a very ambitious film at the same time. It's a movie that is doing a lot, and some of times it can be a little unwieldy. We'll talk more about that in a bit, but I think overall it manages to answer and ask some very poignant questions. Ingenue Ellis-Taylor is extraordinary in the movie. I think she's doing incredible career best work here. I've seen her in a few things before, and I think here she's her best. I don't know if there's any, awards in the future for this because things seem to be a little late right now. But at the same time, I don't really care because I think at the end of the day, when you have a great performance is great regardless of whether or not there's a trophy at the end of it. That's still going to be remembered. And I think that at the end of the day, that's something that you have. And so I think she's done a really, really great job over here. Jon Bernthal is also really, really good in this movie. He plays Brett, her husband. I thought he did a great job too. There's a great cast of supporting characters to surround them too, like Victoria Pedretti, Finn Wittrock, Vera Farmiga. Some really good people over there in that cast. So there's a lot of people that clearly a lot of talent has gone into this movie. It's also beautifully shot. This is a gorgeous looking movie. The cinematography is absolutely impeccable. There are some truly striking visuals that are there throughout the film, but that obviously, when you have the hard-hitting stuff that is being discussed in the movie, it very much factors into that aspect of it as well. As Wilkerson is going around the world and seeing different places and recounting certain events that have happened, sometimes leading to flashbacks of those said events, where you imagine the people that she's talking about played by several different actors telling that story. It's all extremely riveting stuff, and it's also done in a way that, once again, it manages to bring forward that story in the best way possible. Where I think it gets a little unwieldy is more so to do with Wilkerson's other storyline, which is her family. There's stuff going on over there, which I'm not sure how much the marketing reveals, so I'm not gonna go too much into that. But all of that stuff is also on top of all of this. So it can sometimes try to do a lot with that, and it can also try to do a lot with its more thought-provoking elements. And eventually what happens is they all kind of buckle a little bit. There's a lot happening. It becomes a little overstuffed. I also think that, and there's a criticism that's been going around, which is the movie could have worked better as a documentary. It already is kind of a documentary. It's sort of a, reenactment of certain things, so it does definitely feel like that. It is both like a biopic and as also, you know, an actual study and breakdown of the subject. That being said, I still think this was a pretty damn good movie. And it's a movie that, again, asks some very poignant questions. Like, it's not as simple as saying, okay, this is racism. It's a larger system than that. Like, one of the examples she brings up, the caste system in India, you know, at first one is like, you can't bring up racism because most people in India look like this. So what exactly do you want to go over there, you know, and what do you want to say? And then eventually what the movie does with that is very interesting, and it's also a very, like I said, a very thoughtful commentary. I think it does things in a fairly effective way, and I think it does a solid job overall. But I am curious to hear from people who may not have liked the movie. Like, what did you want out of it? How do you think it handles things? I don't know. I'll leave that up to the viewer. I'm gonna give Origin an 8 out of 10. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more videos very, very soon. It's good to be back a little bit more, sharing stuff with you all. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe. Thank you very much once again, and I'll see you guys at the movies.